Hello everyone, my name is Kirilyuk. I'm a bachelor student of Akhmet Baitursynuly Kostanay Regional University, and today I will be talking about linguistic features of translating fantasy video games and their similarity to literary text translation, a case study of Baldur's Gate 3. This video game was developed by Larian Studios and localized into Russian by Right-Local.t. So, let's begin. As you may know, the video game industry is a relatively recent cultural phenomenon that has evolved in a tandem with cutting-edge technologies. Today, video games feature non-linear narratives, richly constructed universes, fully realized characters, and multitude of textual elements. This complexity makes localization a particularly enticing challenge for translators. I selected Baldur's Gate 3 as my case study because it offers an abundance of textual material that makes it an ideal specimen for examining translation strategies in practice. Literary translation, on the other hand, has existed for as long as literature itself. Fantasy video game narratives draw heavily on literary traditions and often adopt the same translational techniques that we first developed for written texts. I focus here on the fantasy genre of literature because it represents one of the most demanding domains of translation, filled with inventive vocabulary, mythological references, and intricate world building, which makes it exceptionally fertile for scholarly analysis. Chronologically, Baldur's Gate 3 traces its lineage to the rule books of the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons, which was originally inspired by Asian fantasy literature. Over decades, successive editions, supplementary rule sets, and narrative modules accumulated. In 2023, Larian Studios released Baldur's Gate 3, synthesizing these elements into an interactive digital experience. Consequently, its localization process inherits translation decisions originally made for earlier D&D publications. To understand how literary texts are translated, we turn to pioneering work of Yuri Komisarov, who classified translation techniques into three major groups: lexical transformation, grammatical transformations, and lexicogrammatical transformations. Each category of them addresses a different layer of language, vocabulary, syntax, or the interface between the two, and provides a systematic toolkit for managing linguistic challenges. In Komisarov's lexical group, we find calc, the literal translation of a source language word or phrase into target language; transcription, reproducing the sound of a source language word using the target language's phonetic system; transliteration, conversion of the letters of a source language word into corresponding characters of the target language script; generalization, substitution of a specific term with a broader concept; and specification, replacing a general term with a more precise one. For each transformation, I extracted examples from Baldur's Gate 3 transcripts of quest titles, NPC names, magical item descriptions, and many more. Among grammatical transformations, we have structural calc, direct syntactic translation, sentence splitting and joining, breaking complex sentences to clarity and combining sentences for flow, and grammatical shift, where words change grammatical forms to fit context. Both calc and structural calc are very common in translation of Baldur's Gate 3. Most of the time, direct approaches make better results. However, for the sake of clarity, there are also cases of using splitting and joining, where bigger sentences are being split into several shorter ones, or short ones being joined into a bigger one. And sometimes, to fit context, some parts of speech are replaced with another one. Among lexicogrammatical transformations, we have compensation, replacing lost meaning or other qualities with new elements; explication, adding descriptive details for clarity; modulation, changing perspective or emphasis of the words; antonymic translation, being a special case of modulation in using opposites to convey the same idea; and integral transformation, replacing idioms and set expressions. In this regard, both modulation and integral transformation are the most popular transformations used for lexicogrammatical situations. When it comes to the process of video game localization, There are four main groups of elements which require a careful approach. Those are game mechanics, lore elements, authorial elements, as well as literary subgenres. In game mechanics, we translate rules, statistics, and technical terms used in the player's interface. These mainly stem from the original D&D rule set, where terms are mostly being translated by calc. Lore elements show a similar pattern, introducing transcription and transliterations in the name of deities, names of the locations, as well as in the usage of fictional languages in the speech of the characters. Proper names in authorial elements behave similarly due to similar nature, while puns and speech styles are mostly compensated through something else. As an example, a pun can be adapted through a speaking name, while a Cockney accent be replaced by a coarser vocabulary. Furthermore, Baldur's Gate 3 even features internal subgenres of songs, books, rhymes, and others to expand the lore of the game. These are mostly translated through compensation too. In conclusion, both video game localization and literary translation share a common origin and impose similar demands on translators. The strategies devised for a literary text seamlessly extend to digital narratives, yielding comparable solutions to linguistic challenges. Thus, we can view these two fields as complementary facets to translation studies, united by their interactive medium and narrative complexity.